Hi, folks. Welcome to Walking on the Weene Side, part of It Matters Radio. My guest today is a comedian, actor, and more than that. His name is Brian Shirley. And Brian, welcome to Walking on the Weene Side.
Hey, it's great to be here. I was a big Lou Reed fan, so this is as close as I get to Lou Reed, I guess. Walking on the Weene Side.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how we came up with that name, since most of the time I do very little walking, a lot of sitting.
Oh, well, today we're sitting on the Weene Side. Then,
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
I do a lot of standing, so
Yeah, you do stand-up comedy.
yes. I've been doing it for about 25 years now.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into stand-up?
Well, I had a misspent youth, and I was kind of lacking focus. I'd been in and out of the military, and my dad suggested I go down to this comedy club with this lady. She was going to show me around, and there was actually a workshop there, Kenneth, and it wasn't an open mic. It was a professionally run club running about 6 days a week, 5-6 days a week, and they had a workshop. So I joined the workshop. I fell in love with it. The first time I got on stage was probably a couple months after I had seen it for the first time live. So I was, relatively new to it. I mean, I'd seen it on TV and listened to albums of, Bill Cosby and George Carlin and Richard Pryor and Cheech and Chong. I listened to all those when I was a kid, but never really thought about doing it until I actually went there and saw it and got on stage. And once you get on stage and it gets in your blood, it is very hard to get out. It's like a stain, Kenneth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you got up there. Now you said you've been in the military, so you had to be like in your 20s.
Yeah, I think I had just turned about 22 or 23, no, maybe a little later than that, 24, 25. It's hard to tell. I can't remember.
Well, who wants to remember back that far?
Yeah. But, I got focused in on that, and once I started writing, I'd always written stuff. I'd always been a writer to an extent. Kind of got out of it when I was in the military and some other stuff, but got back into it. When I started doing comedy, I started writing even more. I always wrote, though, throughout my life, And now I've got 3 books published, 3 comedy books: Make Love Not Warts, 4 Beers Ago, and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Club, which is the third one is true stories of about 20 years of being on the road. Mm-hmm. So I still do comedy, but, man, I got to tell you, I've been bitten by another bug, and that's the acting bug. So I'm pursuing that full time now, as well as still doing stand-up.
No, you're still doing some stand-up.
Yeah, I don't want to say I've taken a break, but I've kind of when you're auditioning and putting together all this stuff for acting, it's a lot of work. Sure. I don't know if people understand what goes into it, but a lot more than I thought. I mean, I thought, you get an agent, they send you somewhere and you get a part. No, it's not that easy. And I've got an agent. I think I've got another one looking at me right now. I was actually working on that before I came on this show. And so I want to have 2 or 3 agents because, the more representation you got, the better odds you have.
Uh-huh. I didn't know you could have more than one agent and get away with it. Don't they each take 10% no matter what you get?
Well, yeah, that's true, but you only have one agent booking for you at a time. In other words, if one agent gets me on, like Red Willow Talent, I'm with them, and they're out of Savannah, and I've got a 500-mile radius with her, and then I'm kind of with another agent with her. It's hard to explain, but I got that, and then I got someone up in Pittsburgh right now taking a look at me, and so that covers that region. So they won't cross.
Okay, so each has his own jurisdiction.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing is, will they get upset? And I don't think they will, but we'll see.
I would guess that they'd be happy because as you get better known, it'll be easier for them to get you gigs so that they can get their cut.
That's true, and that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm building my reel, I'm building my resume. I've been doing some student films, some extra work, and started getting some speaking parts and some stuff. I just did a web series. I did 4 scenes, and I'm in 2 episodes, and it's coming out this month. But I'm in the 2nd season. The first season's coming out in May. It's called Love and Elevators, and it's coming out in May. And then I've already shot my part for the next season, which is coming out, I think, in June or July.
Now you say that's a web series, which means what?
Well, these things are kind of getting popular now. Web series is like it's like a TV series, but it's not, commercially backed. Really, is what it comes amount to, and so it's an independent production. These folks are putting their own money up usually, and if they have any backers, it's limited, but they usually put up their own money. You're usually paid, but it's not as much as on something commercially viable, and I think it's a good way for an actor to build his reel too. If it's a good production, and this one seemed to be pretty well done. It's I believe it's going to be on Amazon though.
Oh, okay. So then it gets picked up by some streaming source such as Amazon.
Right, and it's got what they call, I'm getting an IMDb credit, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, Kenneth, but if you're in the acting business, you need an IMDb page. It's a whole site, Internet Movie Database, and you want to build that up too, because casting directors, producers, or whatever, if they go to that site, they'll look and find you there. They can see what you're doing, and it's a very good tool. All this costs money too. It costs money to be on that IMDb. You can have a free site, but you're limited. You want to join it as a pro, and then I have a lot of actors site that I'm member of, Actors Access, 800 Casting, Casting Frontier. There's several of them out there, Kenneth. And you got to invest in your career. You got to put money out, and you don't know when you're going to see it coming back. So
that's a lot of jokes to make that money.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm supporting the acting career with my comedy career right now, and I do other things. I DJ, I host trivia. You got to, that's how it is. You got to scramble.
Anything that can earn you a few bucks. How's your barista skills?
I don't know if I can barista yet. I'm actually, it's Cinco de Mayo. I'm actually DJing a Cinco de Mayo party after I get off the air with you. I'm going to do that here in a few hours. So, yeah, just whatever I can do. And
whatever you can do to bring in the bucks so that you can spend it on building your career. I understand that process. Yeah. So it takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage to do that. But by the way, speaking of money, folks, one way you can immediately help Ryan's career is if you go to Amazon and buy his books.
Yeah, that'll help. Yeah. Unless they want to just donate straight to me.
Okay.
I've actually, there's some great people out there that have helped my career. I mean, it's amazing some of the support I've gotten. I have an Air Force buddy named Anderson Clayton, and he's actually donated to my career, and he said, "Hey, I want to give you this because what you're doing is you're making people laugh." I'm not asking people for money. I'm just saying it's amazing the support you can find from folks out there, and I have people put me up on the road, which that's a beautiful thing. When I go to Florida, I have some friends that I've known for years that live down there, so there's a lot that goes into this, and it's been an interesting ride the last 25 years, and I think it's getting better, to be honest.
Well, I've seen a little bit of your work, and the stuff I've looked at about you, and we're going to share some of that in a minute or two, folks. And I'd say, yeah, you got some style there, man.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I always wanted to have style, Kenneth.
And I particularly, one of the things I liked a lot was you're not afraid to ask hard questions. And I noticed that about your work. Now, for example, you're involved in one project where you're trying to find out just exactly what happens to those socks that go missing.
Yeah, that is an important thing that I don't think our society addresses enough. And I took it upon myself, Kenneth, to just take that subject and go as far as I could with it. And so there you have it. two go in, one comes out, a sockumentary. And I don't think anybody's heard of that word before I made it up, to be honest with you. I think I'm the first one that I had somebody tell me, what is that? Because I don't think I've heard that before. And I said, well, it's a documentary, but it's about socks. So it's a sockumentary. And I just, like you said, hey, folks, you go to your dryer, you know that you put two socks, a pair, they were both matched. You know you put two in that dryer. You opened it up that door, and you could only find one. Okay? Now, you want to find out what goes on there. I'm not saying I answered the questions, but like you said, I asked them. And I asked several people, and I had interviews with people. Two go in, one comes out, a sockumentary. Oh, and you know what's funny about you bringing that up, Kenneth, is that in between the time that I sent you all the stuff and today, that film got selected for a film festival.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's perfect. What film festival? Yeah.
It's called Camp Feast, and it's like a campy schlock type festival. You know, they wanted all the weird movies and stuff. So I sent them two of the ones I've done, and they accepted it. And I got to tell you, it was a fun thing to do. The sockumentary had great writers. Drew Howard is his stage name. Drew Howard and Lance Morrison helped me write it, helped me film it, and a lot of comics here in Charleston, South Carolina. We shot it with, and we had one lady out where you're at, Tamara McClure. She shot her own scene and sent it to me. She was the beginning. You see her looking for the socks, as a matter of fact. So it was a collaboration of about 10 people, I think, and very low budget, Ken, extremely low budget.
Now, folks, if you want to ask important questions, what better way to ask them than on film, right?
Yeah.
So what other questions are you into asking?
Well, I think the series that originally came from, that was going to be a episode of Bingleton Socks, but it turned into its own creature. So some of the questions I've asked with Bingleton Socks is stuff like, why did Santa steal my stocking? That's one called Naughty or Nice. And the other one is, what happens when you keep saying, if so-and-so does something, I'll eat my socks? That was an important question. So I actually asked and answered that one in Fed Up, Bingleton Socks Fed Up. And then also, I went to this is crazy how this worked, Ken. I went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee on a vacation with my friends in Florida, stayed up in the cabins. On the way there, I asked the question, what would happen if there was a monster in the mountains stealing socks? And I answered it when I put together Scared Sockless, which is also in the Camp Feast Film Festival. They selected two of the films I made. And this is sad, though. So we shot this in a cabin up in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I don't know if y'all heard about this out there, but I think it was a couple of months later, not even a month later, they had all these fires in Gatlinburg.
Yeah, sure, terrible.
And that cabin that was shot in burnt down. It is no longer there, and very sad for the folks.
Whoa! Now I'm hearing the beginnings of another possible movie. Okay, kind of like the Blair Witch Project, the Blair Sock Project.
Wow, some found footage. I like it. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to revisit the location and find a film up there. You never know.
Yeah.
Blair Sock Project. I like that.
We'll be right back to talk some more with Brian Shirley.
Something weird's going on here.
Hit it!
I'm excited about everything that's
Why don't you
going
check the lint trap, you weirdo?
Must be a communist.
Sir, Walt Toastneck.
First of all, do you wear socks?
The cameraman quit. Apparently he feels endangered, but the danger's already over. I don't get it.
No comment.
Do you think that's the same Bingleton as in Bingleton Socks?
Next question, please.
He was a pervert.
These people are driving me crazy.
Welcome back to Walking on the Weene Side. And Brian, I saw that you are doing work, have been working on something called The Senator. Could you tell us a little bit about The Senator?
That is a student film in Savannah. It's shot by students at SCAD, which is the Savannah College of Art and Design. And people in the business out in Atlanta, on the East Coast, and I'm talking even big-time movie people, know about SCAD.
Oh, I know about Savannah College. Oh, yeah. I've recommended people go there. It's a wonderful, wonderful school.
I mean, they put out some good stuff. So I went out and I got selected for the lead role in The Senator, which is Senator Strom Thurmond. And you know you're getting old when you can play a middle-aged Strom Thurmond. So I studied Strom on YouTube a little bit, watched some of his speeches, and then when I went down there, the director told me his vision, and we got together on that. And what this is, Strom Thurmond, if you remember at some point, or if you know your history, gave one of the longest filibusters in the history of the United States on the floor of the Senate, which was about equal rights. I mean, civil rights. Civil rights. And he was actually against that bill that was being passed. This was in the 50s. So this is when the time period of it is set in the 1950s. So what you see me do in this film is you see me do a speech on television after the filibuster and right after the civil rights thing passed or whatever. So he was upset. And that's what the director told me he wanted. He said, look, you are upset. So when I did that speech that you see in the film, I delivered it pretty harsh, and that's the way he wanted it. So the big thing about this movie, though, is a lot of people did not know at that time that he was having an affair with his maid, who was an African-American woman. Yeah. Yes. And there was a child produced from that affair, which he contributed money to the child's upraising and college and et cetera, et cetera. Nobody knew about this until 6 months after he died, which was only about, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. So that's how long he lived. So in the movie, you'll see me do the speech, and then you'll see my reunion. Not reunion. I'm visiting the child and her mother, and you see a little bit of tension there too. But it's about a five-minute film, and the way they did it, though, I got to tell you, man, it looks really good. Music was great, the shots, the editing. It's a pro job, Kenneth. I consider it a pro job, and that's my demo reel right now. I'm waiting on clips from some other stuff that I've done, another short film, a web series, a feature film. There's a lot of stuff I have out there right now that's not available to me because they haven't finished the editing process.
Well, how does it feel going from the comedy that you did, the stand-up, to something as serious as, well, race in America and this seminal figure that really became the icon of the hypocrisy?
Yeah. I got to tell you, there's a lot of seriousness in stand-up. There's a lot of seriousness in the funny business. And I think it's because tragedy is one thing that comedy comes from. I mean, your life is tough. I talk about growing up from a divorced family. I talk about being poor as a kid. I talk about bad relationships, and stupid decisions I've made. So going from stand-up to drama, or even something heavy as what you said, racism, it's not that big a stretch. I mean, because what you're doing when you're doing stand-up most of the time is you're making fun of terrible things. I mean, or bad situations. I mean, that's a lot of stand-up, or I think it is. And I've never been just a monologist, and that a monologist is somebody that's just straight tells jokes. They don't do voices, they don't do any kind of physicality. It's just kind of a Stephen Wright type, delivery, or Seinfeld, is more of a monologist, So I've never been that way. I've always been, I always do the monology, but I've always done characters. I've always done physical comedy. I like getting into it and acting out, and I've always have. So for me, for 25 years, I've already been acting. It's just putting that into TV, film, commercials, and learning that I have to be smaller on the big screen than I am when I'm on stage.
Yeah. It's a different presence.
Yes.
Different.
And tapping into some emotions that I don't maybe not have tapped in as a stand-up comedian, but been close to tapping into some of those. So that's the other thing, and identifying with the characters that I didn't write. That's the big, to me, that's the stretch. If there's any stretch for me, it's doing characters that I didn't write,
So are you up for doing the White House Correspondents' Dinner next year?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take it on. Because that lady's calendar is completely full now. She has got work from now till I don't know when. Like her or not, she's got plenty of work now.
Yeah.
And some people say that's good. Some people say that's bad. To me, whether you like her politics or not, it's good.
Yeah. Well, hey, one of the things I know about comedians, actors, anybody in show business, if the lights aren't on you, that's bad.
Yeah. The toughest thing, Kenneth, and I'm dealing with it right now, and it is very tough, and that is, and I ask people, when I interview them, I ask this: what do you do in the downtimes? Downtime sound bad, but I mean in between projects. That's the tough thing, because like you said, the light's not on you. Well, and I'm slowly learning this, because when I was doing stand-up, it was week after week, or it'd be like, if I had a week off, I was kind of like taking a break and recharging my battery. So now that I've kind of gone over into this, that's the toughest thing that I'm learning, is being patient and not getting too down in the dumps in between projects, because it's a blast being on a set, performing, and then it's like a drug. Then you come down when you go home, So you got to find family, other things to kind of keep you level. That's the tough thing.
So, if you got to go back in time to history to and play any character in any movie, or stage play for that matter, that you've ever seen, what's your dream role? Who would you like to have replaced?
Wow, that is a great question. I guess one of them would have been Quint in Jaws. I would love to have played not Roy Scheider. Now I'm drawing a blank to the actor, and I love him, and I can't remember his name. That, to me, that scene, no pun intended, had a lot of teeth. When they're sitting in the boat and he talks about being on the ship that delivered the bombs to Japan, the Indianapolis that got sank right after they delivered the A-bomb.
Right.
Robert Shaw, the actor Robert Shaw. That was as scary as the shark. The way he did it with the music underneath it and everything, the lighting, but his acting really, pulled it together. When he's telling that story, I'm getting goosebumps because, and that's what I want to do. I want to do something like that. And I've auditioned for a couple of roles that I felt had some teeth like that. That's what that's one of the ones. I guess the Godfather. The Godfather would be another one, but what is it? Apocalypse Now. The role of the crazy guy on the island. That's another one where it's eerie, it's spooky, and it's not necessarily a horror movie. Or
You're talking Brando now.
yes,
Yeah,
Brando.
Yeah.
And of course, I was swinging for the fence on both of those guys. But yeah, I like those. I like those odd characters that have a lot of mystery about them. You're scared of them almost, but you respect them and you're fascinated by them.
Okay, yeah, and that you feel not phony horror, not the horror that's manufactured or the terror that's manufactured by this mechanical shark, or something like that, but it's the horror that's in the depth of the human heart. And of course, Apocalypse Now is really a remake of a Joseph Conrad book, Into the Heart of Darkness. And
In the Heart of Darkness, I read that.
Yeah, you get that.
And he actually lives in the book. Brando's character comes out on the train in the book. And they twisted that around, which is fine. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that's actually based on a book in the, was it late 1800s? He was an elephant.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and of course it's about Africa. It's about the Congo.
Yeah. And I guess he had been sent by a company to go explore, and he wasn't reporting back or something, so they sent this other guy to go get him. And but the character's still the same. You know, the character.
Very much the same character.
Yeah.
And that darkness that dwells within us. And I guess every good actor wants to be able to tap into those kind of archetypal qualities that are in all of us and bring us in contact with.
Well, that's what we do as comedians. We tap into the humor side of things, you know. We have to draw a picture in your head, you know, with jokes, basically, with lines. And what you just said, tapping into the darkness, that's the other side, you know. Not necessarily that I want to scare people, but I just want to do interesting characters that tap into something, you know. Like, I'm telling you, when there's a story about Robert Shaw when they shot that scene in the boat. One was that he was completely wasted. He'd been drinking all night, did the scene, and then the next morning did it again completely sober, and they edited both of them together. Supposedly. And, I mean,
I've heard that story, not just about him, but about other really great performances where they have, because there is something about that drunk state, there's something about the hungover state, then there's something about the sober state, and each one of them kind of merging together. However, I take it that you do try to do your acting sober and
yes.
I guess,
you know,
maybe
early in my stand-up career, you know, I'll admit it, I did, you know, I got stoned, I got drunk, you know, and took the stage, which I would not recommend to anybody, because doing it sober, you have to be more in control than the people that you're performing for, whether it's an audience on stage or whether it's on TV, you know. So I recommend sober all the time. Although I will say, when I was shooting this web series last week, part of it, we were drinking wine. It was dinner, you know, nothing big, but just drinking some wine at dinner for this scene. Of course, we shot the scene about 17 times. You know, you take, you know, different cameras, and they put real wine in the glass. So I sipped a little bit. You know, we all were. The lady we were with wasn't drinking that much, but me and the lead actor, you know, we would sip a little bit. Just getting into character, really. I just kind of lost it. And then one time we're in between takes, and I reached for the wine, and I was like, "Whoa, what am I doing? We're not even on a take," you know. So it was kind of a force of habit type deal, and we laughed about it. But I mean, those things. I mean, it was like, I don't know, Ken. It must have been 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, wow, if I'm gonna have a drink, I rarely drink this early. So it was a little bit weird for me. I didn't get buzzed or anything, but yeah, I say sober is the way to go with performing.
Yeah, we're gonna sober up for a moment here and watch a little something from Brian's wonderful work, and we'll be right back.
Now, I want to make something very clear, not only to my constituents in South Carolina, but to concerned citizens across this great nation. We, as white, we have states' rights, and those include our rights to do our work, our leisure, and our worship in facilities separate but equal to those from different races, in particularly so the Negro race. And as a proud senator of this great state,
Daddy!
Welcome back to Walking on the Weene Side. Now, Brian Shirley, we've talked about your books, we've talked about your stand-up, we've talked about your acting. Now let's switch. Well, it's not a huge switch, but kind of another area that you've been working in, which is an online film festival that you're involved with. It's called nsaen, which stands for...
No Strings Attached E-News online magazine. nsaen is an online magazine, and last year I had the idea. I approached the Beatrice, who is the owner of the magazine, and Tamara McClure, who is the editor-in-chief, about, hey, why don't we do a film festival through the magazine, make an online film festival? And they said, yeah, they said, love to do it. And we put together a board of directors and took off last year, did our inaugural year, and had some pretty good success. I got bitten by that bug, the film festival bug, by having my own creations in some film festivals and a documentary I was in called Veterans in Blue. And man, I went to a couple of film festivals, and I tell you, it's infectious. So I was excited about it. I said, I'd love to do something like this. So I'm the executive producer. We're going into our second year. This year, we're changing things up a little bit. We're going to offer discounted fees for students. So if you're at SCAD or film school, we're going to do early submissions in July. Then August is regular, and then September is late. And we might spread that to October. It just depends on how the submissions are doing. We've got celebrity judges. We have a distribution deal with Chamois Media, so the winners of the film festival get a distribution deal through them, which includes Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and probably some stores, Walmart and Target. We're looking at. We don't control that once it's handed. Right. Once you win and you go to Chamois, we have nothing to do with it. It's all, we've just signed the deal that we are going to send them the winners, and then they're going to do the deal with them. Last year, they took all of our films. They said, we don't want just your winners. We want to see everything that you were sent. So we sent them all the movies. And I don't know which ones we have, the correspondence, sometimes people get too busy. So I'm not sure which. I know that Misfit, which was a horror film, got distribution deal. And there's a few more that they're looking at.
Now,
so
let's just make sure I understand this. So this is an online film festival. So you can't go to the theater for this, folks. But will the films be available to the public? Is the festival something that's going to be like on a website?
What we do is we give you whatever they want, however they want to make their films public. We pass that on to the public. Some of them you will not see because they're in other film festivals. So the deal is our film festival, we don't care if you've shown it publicly or if you want to show it publicly after. Some film festivals do not want your stuff shown publicly. So that's why you may not be able to see them right now. You will eventually get to see a lot of these films. Plus, with the distribution deal with Chamois, the winners, they won't be able to be seen publicly unless you go to Amazon or whatever site they're on. So, yes, you will be able to see the films, but it depends on. There's a lot of factors.
So there's not an open audience. There's not a public audience like when I go to the Phoenix Film Festival or the Tucson.
Right.
Yeah, I pay and I go and I get to watch a certain number of the films.
Right.
This is going to just be seen by the judges.
Right. The judges will see them. But see, what we're doing also, though, for the public is we are exposing you to these films. You'll see, the posters, if there's trailers or whatever. We do, press releases and everything. So the films that do submit to us do get a lot of publicity out of just being in the film festival, because we try our best to shout out their names. And I have, my radio segment where we talk about the films.
This is more for serious film people making film to go
Exactly.
to this. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, great. And what is it? Are there different categories like
Yes.
length and topic, genre? What are some of the
genres? Drama, horror, sci-fi, fantasy, romance. Sci-fi, fantasy, romance. I can't remember all of them. Sorry, I don't have everything in front of me.
Okay. Full length.
And we're taking web series too.
Web
but
series.
if you go to the site, web series also. You go to the site, all that's laid out for you. nsaen.com/film festival.
Online film festival.
Yeah. Or, if you just go to nsaen.com,
You'll find your way to the film festival. Plus, you can check out the magazine.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, the real reason I wanted to start the film festival, Kenneth, is to give independent filmmakers a platform. Really is the secret to it.
Especially small filmmakers and
right.
indies, people like the college students you've been working with. People like that. Now, are you doing shorts or just full length?
We do both.
Okay, so short, yeah. So even folks, if you got a really good short that you want to get some publicity and some exposure, because I'm going to guess that a lot of professionals in the industry are going to be kind of checking this out.
We've had some really good success with getting folks in the industry looking at it already, and we had Leonard Skinner. Ronnie Van Zant and Johnny Van Zant were celebrity judges last year, and Ricky Muse, who was in a Super Bowl commercial, was one of our celebrity judges. And I was blown away by the amount of the films, the professionalism of the movies that were sent us, and the people in the films. One of them is an actor right out where you're at. His name is Will Roberts. He was in a short movie that they shot in between a movie he was doing in Brazil that's on Netflix right now. Mm-hmm. So they shot a film while they were making a feature film. They shot all of it was on a phone. They shot this on an iPhone and sent it to us. And Will, since then, was in that movie in Netflix, and he was on Lucifer. He did a role on Lucifer, and he just did a promo for America's Got Talent. If you watch an America's Got Talent and it's scary and it's in the woods in a cabin, he's the one spinning the lasso on fire.
Now, there's a guy with a lot of spotlights on him, huh?
Yeah. And this is the kind of people that were sending films to us.
Yeah.
And, All About Manos, who won our web series, is just now done with the LA Web Fest. They just did, they were in that. And they were up for several categories, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and something else. So we got some real good quality stuff. I was amazed. And we're not that big, and we're not that expensive. I think it was 15, 20, and 25 early, regular, and late submissions. And we're going 10, 15, and 20 for students this year. So for $10, you get in on the first month if you're a student.
That's pretty cool. I know personally, I know people, and I'm going to say, hey, have you heard about this? Again, it's called nsaen, Online Film Festival. And you just go to nsaen, www.nsaen.com, and it's just an online magazine, and then look for their film festival. And wow, I think it's very exciting.
Oh, and I believe that we're going to have you are going to be part of the magazine now. You don't even know it, because we're going to talk all about Walk on the Weene Side, and make sure you get your due too.
Thank you. That's That's what this is all, mutual support one another in the various aspects of entertainment, which reminds me, before we do stop, you mentioned your radio show, and let's talk for a minute about that, because I want to make sure that we cover that too.
Well, this is crazy. You're going to think this is nuts, Ken. I am on a radio show in Reno, Nevada. I call in. Mm-hmm. The name of the show is What's the Story? My segment is called BTS Entertainment Corner. It's about 12-minute chunk, and I talk about independent artists, actors, directors, whatever. The crazy thing about it is it's on America Matters Media. So when I was doing It Matters, I was like, wow, this is just, it's full circle or something, This is really cool. So, yeah, it's in Reno. It's every Monday, 3 to 4 out there on 1180 a.m., and then it's online at the same time. They stream it online, and it's live in a studio on the AM station out there. And it's also a magazine. What's the Story is also a magazine. BTS Entertainment Corner is in there, and guess where else it is? It's in No Strings Attached E-News magazine. So when I do an interview with a director or something, it goes into both publications, online and in print. What's the Story is in print too. 2,500 copies distributed in Reno, and they send me some. And so if you see me, folks, doing stand-up, or if you just see me somewhere, I usually have copies with me. I hand them out after it goes.
have promo materials will travel.
Right. Exactly. That's the way you got to go. And it's cool. It's got articles in there. It's got trivia, and it's a free publication that we do. So,
you've got any plans to be traveling out toward the West Coast, the Southwest, with your stand-up?
Yeah, we're trying to put together some stuff for Reno, and I know a filmmaker in Colorado. He's Todd E. Braley, who did Misfit, and hoping to get into one of his films. We've talked. It's just a matter of logistics and his support as far as monetary support for the films, which he's trying to build up. But yeah, I'm looking to come out there, do films, do stand up, do it all. I need to put together a tour, Kenneth.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
that's what I need to do, and I'm working on it.
Good. Well, if you get to the Arizona portion of the Southwest, I'll come. I'll come and laugh at you.
I'll add that state to the mix. I will add Arizona to the mix, and yeah, definitely. And where are you at?
Well, I'm in Tucson.
Tucson, okay.
Yeah.
I've been out there. It's been a while. I can't remember. Tucson has had a comedy club there, and I don't remember the name of it because it's been a while since I've even been past.
Well, actually, I just moved to Tucson from Phoenix, so I don't know the comedy club. But
okay.
I do notice that people here like to laugh.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you need it. You're out in the desert.
Well, I think we need it everywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if we don't get to see you at the White House Correspondents' Dinner next year, well, at least we can hope that you'll be coming to our various cities on tour. And we certainly are going to be watching for you in the movies. Folks, you've seen a couple examples of Brian Shirley's work here during the commercial breaks we take. And I think if you're as impressed as I am, you're going to write his name down. You get that list that everybody keeps of people, hey, I've heard of this guy. I want to see what he's going to do next kind of list. And put Brian Shirley's name on that list. And if you know anybody who's making a movie that would like to get into what sounds to me like a pretty cool festival where you could get some real serious exposure, not just, oh yeah, everybody's going to go to the movies tonight kind of exposure, but serious, where serious people in the industry are looking to distribute. Check out nsaen, Online International Film Festival.
Oh, and Kenneth, one more thing. We actually are paired with a Cheers to the Warriors. It helps our combat wounded veterans. So a portion of our proceeds from the submissions go to Cheers to the Warriors and to help our veterans, nation's veterans.
That's kind of a cool. It's kind of a cool little additional thing, and I know as a vet that that kind of concern for your fellow veterans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have a couple of veterans on the board of directors, and everybody is a incredible supporter of our nation's military. Janice Hermson, who's What's the Story radio show in LaRue Press, she has a wear a red shirt Friday every Friday on Facebook. She posts about which is remember our employed. Remember our people that are overseas. Mm-hmm. So wear a red shirt. Hey, you're wearing red Sunday. No? Kind of a pinkish red. But so we all wholeheartedly support our nation's military.
And with that thought of supporting other people, I think that's a great note to end the interview with. Brian Shirley. Brian, thanks once again for walking on the Weene Side.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Stopped instead, I caught your smile. I'm just no good, no good. It's too late to dream of
My coffee queen, where have you been?
all of the things we said. Where does the time all go?
I'm gonna do you guys a little John party, so if you like it, please give it a like, share, subscribe.